Okay, so I've been avoiding making this video since this last week. Yeah, I think it was last Monday. Uh, and as you noticed, I didn't make the last two, but this is just an overall season review for the Nashville Predators. No intro this time. Maybe very minimum editing. Preds lose the series to the Dallas Stars 4-2. They lost Game 6 in overtime, which that was the one thing I didn't want them to do. I said before the game, I said to my roommate, if they're going to lose the game, I want them to do it in regulation. So I don't have to put up with it. It just hurts that much more when it's in overtime, you know? It's the dagger, because that means they were almost there. They almost forced the Game 7. But they didn't. John Klingberg put the dagger in the Preds' hopes for the Stanley Cup. I don't really know what to say. The playoffs this year were worse than they were last year, clearly, because they didn't make it to the second round. Thankfully, the Jets didn't either. They also had a very disappointing season. But this team has expectations to get out of the second round now. And they didn't meet our expectations, and now, of course that night, no one has a cool head. Trade this person, fire the coach, fire this person, fire the GM. After a week, I was, a little bit more rational than most after the game, but we can't make any irrational decisions. Of course we can't. Dave Poyle and the ownership group, they can't make any irrational decisions. But they can't stand still and do nothing, which is what my stance was after the game. Was we can't do anything to this. They can't do anything to this team because they're a good skilled team. And then I've kind of sat on it a bit. I've looked through some rumors. They have to shake it up. They can't keep this team. They've clearly. I think Dan Hughes and McCarthy are on the hot seat. I don't think they make it to the 1920 season. The team defensively was not good this year. Especially in the playoffs. They were a bit better in was it Game 2 and Game 6. And then the games that they won, they were better. Or the other game that they won, I think it was Game 3, they were better. Game 4, they were completely demolished. I'm sorry, Game 6, they were good defensive. Game 5, they were demolished. Game 4, they were demolished defensively. It's stupid mistakes. You gotta clear the zone. You gotta get. That was ultimately the demise of this team. And I see a lot of similarities between what they did in the playoffs and the New Jersey Devils all season, which is not good at all. That team didn't make the playoffs. The New Jersey Devils had a very, very hard time clearing the zone, clearing the puck at all. And all those turnovers would lead to scoring opportunities, and usually the teams were good enough to capitalize on them. And that's exactly what the Dallas Stars did. They capitalized on mistakes. Full marks to the Stars, but the Preds were not good in this series at all. They weren't good starting in December. That 6-game losing streak really shook the team up. And it's not for a lack of trying on Pekarine's part to keep the series at least better. I feel bad for him being pulled in Game 5, but that's what had to happen. UC Saros, he stepped in there and he was good. But the defense let him down. You can't let them go in there and score 4 goals in the first period in your own building. You can't do that. That's just not acceptable for anyone. For, whether you're the Ottawa Senators or if you're the San Jose Sharks, which they have done on multiple occasions, but they've been able to come back. This team can't score at all. They can't score their way out of problems. They're not like the Maple Leafs. They're not like the San Jose Sharks. They don't have the talent they need to score. And, the ones that they do have, they didn't show up. There's an issue in Rocco Grimaldi. Don't get me wrong, I love the guy. There's an issue in Rocco Grimaldi is your highest scorer. it's frustrating as a fan, and I'm sure it's even more frustrating and infuriating as a player. I mean, Craig Smith said afterwards he was pissed, and I completely understand. And he tried, and he did. I think he scored the game winner. I mean, I've never seen him celebrate like that before. Him at home was okay. He took some stupid penalties. That was another thing that killed us was our freaking special teams. We'll get to that. Grimaldi showed up. I mean, sure, injuries played a part, but we played without Simmons and Boyle for most of the season. What happened? Like, I just don't understand. I don't know. As for the regular season, the team, like I said, they started to play like garbage in December. In late December, they had a 6-game losing streak. I remember, that's when I started these things. That's when I started doing the game-by-game thing. And they finally started to pick it up a little bit, and then they lose it again for 3 games. They pick it up again for 3 games, and they lose it for 3 games. It got a little better as the season went on, but they still weren't playing like the elite team they are. I don't know what else to say. Kyle Turris has been less than optimal. He's been less than what we signed him for, and that he might need a shakeup. I don't think they move him immediately at the draft or at free agency. I don't think they move Kyle Turris. I mean, they're going to have to retain on him. I don't think if they're going to move Kyle Turris, I don't think they move him until probably the trade deadline next year or sometime in December. Because, I mean, you got to give another opportunity. He was great last year. He had a bad year this year. I mean, he was injured. You can only take that excuse so far. PK Subban, a lot of people want him traded. And, I usually don't agree, and I usually attribute that people not liking him to race to a certain degree. But then I look at it and say that's their most valuable piece is PK Subban. If you're going to get rid of him, it's because you want a lot in return. What can you get? I don't know. Maybe trade him to the Maple Leafs and get, Mitch Marner and try to sign him. You trade him to the Maple Leafs, try to get Andreas Janssen. Trade him to the Florida Panthers, try to get Vinny Trocheck. Something. This team needs scoring. That's what they need. Trade him to the Arizona Coyotes, try to get Derek Stepan. I mean, they need something. And what is that something? I don't know. They need something. No, yes it is. I know exactly what it is. It's f***ing scoring. They need scoring. And Dante Fabro, I think he had a great playoffs. In the role he had to play, I think he'll move into the top 4 next year. A lot of people were saying to trade Ellis, and he has no value. His season was terrible for him. Not point production-wise, but defensively, he's not been great. He's not really noticeable like he used to be. The chemistry between him and Yossi was not there as much this year. And you can't even contribute to him playing hurt because he came back in the 17-18 season. Or 16, it was either 16-17 or 17-18 season. And he came out back halfway through the year and was fantastic. I mean, I remember, and I don't know. A lot of people want Fiala and Hartman back. I don't. Actually, if they wanted to, I think they can go out and re-sign Hartman. Not sure. I think actually I take them back. He might be on RFA. And he played pretty well for Philadelphia. Kevin Fiala, he's fine where he is. Mikhail Granlund is what he's supposed to be. He'll step up next year, training camp. He'll be able to get used to the style of play. He'll buy into Peter Laviolette. It's always a tough transition, but at least he's got next year. Maybe they try to re-sign Brian Boyle. I think he might go back to New Jersey, which the Devils fan in me is just absolutely ecstatic about. I'll get to that later, as in a different video. But this team needs scoring, and they need it badly. You take, PK Subban, maybe a first-round pick, and try and send it somewhere. Hopefully, Eli Tolvanen can come up next year and score. Hopefully, Rem Pitlick can come next year and score. I liked his game, the couple games he played, the 2 or 3 games he played. I thought he was really good. Dante Fabro is going to be really good. I like Tolvanen. Hopefully he's going to be really good. Hopefully they're not giving up on him yet. I think he's been playing okay in the minors. So sometimes they just need some time. I think a lot of people are trying to rush Alec Tolvanen, and I think that's the worst thing for him. You don't rush talent. They didn't rush Victor Arvidsson. They didn't rush Austin Watson. And that's a huge piece being back. I mean, you saw in the last couple games when he did come back in the regular season that they did play much better. Austin Watson is huge to this team. He's a leader in the room, and everyone likes him being there. Regardless of his history, I think we now know as fans how important he is. As for trades, like I said, PK Subban's a very, very important piece that we could look for moving because of the value he has. And I know he's not great defensively, but he's been pretty damn good. He was probably one of the best players in the playoffs. Roman Yossi's up there too. Ekholm was good. Ellis was okay. I thought Dan Hamhuis was good for what he needed to do, and he had good chemistry with Dante Fabro. You got to move someone. I don't remember if Dan Hamhuis is signed through next year. I think Weber and Irwin are. Regardless, they got to trade someone, and I think PK Subban's on someone. And down the road, if Kyle Turris doesn't step it up, Kyle Turris is on someone. We have enough centers. We need some wingers. Calle Yarncroke, Colton Sissons, Nick Bonino, Kyle Turris, Ryan Johansson. When he was here, Brian Boyle. If he resigns again, Brian Boyle. He's a center too. We have too many centers on the team, and that's something that they look for. And the right-handed shot defenseman is something that is sought after. And that's PK Subban and Kyle Turris. They're expendable. I don't think you can trade Calle Yarncroke. I don't think you can trade Colton Sissons because they're both extremely important to this team. Whether he's playing on the wing or playing in the center. Both can play up and down the lineup. They can play with Ryan Johansson in full fourth, or Ryan Johansson and Victor Arvidsson. They can play on the fourth line with Rocco Grimaldi, who I think will be on the second line next year with Smith and Turris. And they can play down in the fourth line. They're not. You can't trade people like that. And they kill penalties. I mean, they're probably when this team is bad, that's when you trade players like that. If they don't make the playoffs next year, then you trade both of those players, which they have to make the playoffs next year, or Peter Laviolette's job's gone. I would rather them get off to a slow start than get off to a really hot start. Riding the goaltender is not an option next year. Pecorino is getting up there, and I think UC Saros' first year, as the starter, or at least more of a starter, will be next year. I mean, he's got to keep upping his games, and he looks better and better every year. I think next year is finally the transition year between Pex and him. I think he'll take the reins from Pex. He might play some more games than Pex. He might start the playoffs over Pex. Maybe not. It really depends on how Pecorino, obviously he feels good. I mean, he has said it, and I mean, he wants to keep playing. But I think next year is UC Saros' year. Who can we get next year? There's a lot of free agents. I don't think we'll get any of them. I think if we're going to get anything, we're going to get them out of the trade. I think Braden Point's a good player to go after. He won't be as expensive, and I know Tampa Bay really needs to get rid of some players' contracts, and maybe try an offer sheet on Braden Point, Mitch Marner, on there's a couple different players you could Mika Rantanen. They're not going to do that. I mean, actually, they might. Patrick Laine, Kyle Connor, all of them can score. Okay, maybe not Patrick Laine. I wouldn't offer sheet Patrick Laine because you give him a bridge deal. But Kyle Connor, Mika Rantanen, Mitch Marner, there's just so many good players who can score that the Preds need. An offer sheet's not off the table, I don't think, for Nashville, especially if they can rid themselves of a contract like PK's. I mean, he's worth every penny, but he's the most valuable of them all because he's a right-handed D and he's very good. And I wish some of you would see that. But with that, I know we need some changes. I don't think we change anything too drastic. I think an assistant coach or two might get fired, but I don't think we shake anything up too much, but we get a minor piece that will help this team a lot. Or a big piece that will help this team a lot, and that means trading away someone important. Whether that's a big prospect and a defenseman, that's a cost I think that the Preds are willing to take at this point because they're in need of a scorer other than Philip Forsberg and Victor Arvidsson. The team is deep. You just can't score. I think Mitch Marner would be a good player to go after on an offer sheet. Except it's going to be a high price. Braden Point's probably my number one on that list to offer sheet. Maybe Andreas Janssen, but maybe go after some of those young guys. Maybe I guess at this point we just kind of hope that the rest of the team gels back together. Peter Laviolette can get them to buy into the system again, and hopefully they make it to the third round, or I think in Stanley Cup or bust next year. Especially since we got to re-sign Roman Josi. By the way, I saw something about Roman Josi being a captain and how he's not a strong enough captain. I think he's fine. I don't know who else in that room could be a better captain. I know you guys used to pretty strong captains. Shea Weber, not Roman Josi. Shea Weber, Scott Walker was a captain a long time ago. If anyone should be a captain and I know they can, it should be Pekka Rinne. I think the team would go through a wall for him, or Colton Sissons. It would be a really good captain as well. But I think they're going to stick with Josi. I don't really see them doing anything else. But I think this will wrap up the video. It's extremely disappointing to see this team out as early as it is. I was hoping I wouldn't have to make this until June, and I was hoping it would end on a happy note with some vlog footage from a Stanley Cup parade. But I guess we'll have to wait another year to get Pecs at the Stanley Cup. Yeah, so this one's a little more sad than usual, but that's just the way that the season went. I'm still a Preds fan, and I hope all of you are too. It's one bad season. We've all lived through much worse. This team will rebound next year. Yeah. Ryan Johansson would be a good captain too. That's beside the point though. Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Anyone who's watching this from the Nashville Predators Facebook group, I thank you for watching. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you a lot. And if you're just someone on YouTube who found me, thank you for watching this as well. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe below for more just general hockey videos. I will be probably covering the Stanley Cup Finals because I'll have time over the summer. And yeah, go Preds, and enjoy this outro.